supplies you need to raise your own poultry.
Would you like pets who produce eggs you can barter with? Your own source of clean meat?
A swan on your pond to make your home strikingly beautiful?
How about some pheasants and quail roaming in your woods for enjoyment? If so, check out purelypoultry.com.
6%? 7%? That's a lot of money.
Yes, sir.
I might as well just do it myself. Well, that might be true, if a lot of that money you're paying a real estate broker is going toward outdated methods, unnecessary fancy offices, and overpaying executives for a lifetime of service. But you don't need to go that route. Silver Compass Realty is a full-service real estate brokerage serving all of South Central Wisconsin, and the commission is negotiable. Silver Compass will explain exactly what they're going to do to help you buy or sell a home, how that will help you reach your goals, and stand right beside you every step of the way. They want to be your broker, your expert, even when you're not in the middle of a transaction. Silver Compass Realty, helping you find your way home. Contact them today at silvercompassrealty.com or call 608-361-8608. Silver Compass Realty, helping you find your way home.
Burger House 41 is open at 1860 West Mason in Green Bay. You're invited to indulge in one of life's simplest pleasures, a great burger. We're grilling up 15 fresh signature burgers and have over 30 craft beers for the perfect pairing. Experience Wisconsin's best flavors, including white cheddar cheese curds, a variety of specialty sandwiches, milkshakes, and gourmet frozen custard. Burger House 41 at 1860 West Mason is open at 11 a.m. daily. Taste Wisconsin. Taste amazing.
We're back with our final segment of our July 4th Free People Show. You can listen to us at freepeopleshow.com. If you're watching on Facebook now, you can get this later as an audio file at freepeopleshow.com. Please go to freepeopleshow.com and patronize our sponsors, which are Silver Compass Realty, Burger House 41, and Purely Poultry. We'll be having more sponsors shortly, as Ron is constantly working on that. So we've discussed tonight the Declaration of Independence and its position as the best, not perfect, but best founding document of this country that we live in now, that the Constitution is a close second, and that since then everything's been pretty much downhill. Ron agrees, of course, because
Absolutely.
I'm brilliant, and it was a brilliant post. No, I mean, it was pretty boldly put, but nonetheless, it does speak the truth. And so one of the things that we haven't really talked about is, one of the things that we belong to the Libertarian Party, and that is the political way to address, in the current system, that's the way to address what we're currently suffering under this tyranny. There are other ways to do things that express liberty that aren't necessarily running for office or belonging to the party or working for somebody running for office, although those are very important because, as we know, that the people that are really, really devoted to the libertarian cause often find themselves in the Libertarian Party. But there are others, and I discover more of them every day through social media and other contacts, who identify as libertarians and who are doing their own thing, not necessarily belonging to their local party or their state party or the national party, but they're doing little things to express their liberty and find ways to escape government tyranny. There's lots of examples. People that make their own beer and wine, people that drink, promote, produce raw milk, people that smoke weed and grow their own weed, people that homeschool their children, are opting out of a system that's given to them. In fact, they're made to pay for it, but then they still say, I'm going to do something different. There's lots of different ways that you can say, hey, look, I might not be able to completely throw off this tyrannical system myself or in concert with a party, but I can do things freely. I can express my freedom and my liberty as an individual in ways that that make me happier and more express who I am. Do you have any other examples of things like that? Do you do any of that in your personal life, Ron?
Are we talking legal and illegal? Or
I'm not expecting you to confess to any crimes tonight, but
No.
there are those things. Even one of the things I mentioned, which I think is a really cool thing, is something that in Madison, the progressives tend to do, I think, more than, and I'm not using the word liberal because that is an old libertarian term and we should try to reclaim that. Progressives, as we know, is pretty accurate to describe those people because they really are about controlling other people. But in the neighborhoods in Madison, those are where you find the little libraries, like they built a little house on a pole, out, and then people put books in it, other people share it. There's a lot of that stuff that goes on, and even the bake sale legislation that that has gone through recently, where basically you have until you've taken in, I think it's $10,000 a year, you can do home bake sales, which before Representative Robin Voss was trying to quash that ability of people to just create their own baked goods and sell them on a small scale. I think that the issue with that is that they should just deregulate most food and baking, et cetera, anyway. But at least insofar as the current situation, the fact that they weren't squashed by the government the same way the raw milk producers have been and other people have been is a step in the right direction. But they're expressing that, right? The people that are involved, and to my knowledge, they're not members of the Libertarian Party or even maybe identify as libertarians, but they're acting in liberty. And that's one of the things that I like to point out when news comes up that people are doing things on their own. They're taking the initiative to raise money for somebody, for some cause, or they're taking political action by demonstrating, or whatever it might be. Those are things that are expressions of people's liberty. They might not identify them as such, but I think it's incumbent on those of us who are in positions where we're in public as libertarians, whether in leadership or whatever, to point out that, hey, what you're doing here by selling your own baked goods, trafficking in raw milk, whatever it might be, even participating in the farmers market, although that's somewhat regulated by the virtue of the fact that it's permitted on the Capitol Square in Madison. The other farmers markets that are done independently, are done freely, those are expressions of people's of liberty and freedom and exercising their initiative to arrange for their own prosperity outside of the normal channels that are prescribed and licensed by the government. I like to point all that out. The problem is that people that know, especially when I was a candidate, they like to say, well, you're just trying to put your political label on something that they're doing, like to take credit for something. They're not doing it because they're libertarians. Right. They're doing it because they just want to do it. But my point is that libertarianism, small L, big L, whatever, really is just an expression of the way people will and would go about their business should they be free to do so anyway. So those things that they do that are contrary or apart from what the government prescribes, whether it's schooling or what they do for a living or driving for Uber when it was still illegal, or all those sorts of things are expressions of their desire to be fully functional, manifested human beings doing what they want to do as long as they're not hurting somebody else, and in many cases providing a service that other people want. That is libertarianism. Now, it might not be, it's not a calculated political thing that they're doing, but it should be recognized that when libertarians, big L libertarians, point out that these activities are libertarian, small L libertarian, we're not doing it for political gain so much as we're trying to tell people what we're really about. And that is, back to the Declaration of Independence, that we have inalienable rights, that we have the right to live our lives as we choose, as long as we don't interfere with others' right to do the same thing. And that's how it all kind of ties together. That's why this document and the principles in it are so meaningful to me, and in such contrast to the way the ensuing 240 years have progressed. Right? Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to touch on in terms of what we talked about tonight?
Well, I think some other examples, when we look at GoFundMe and things like that, that's a great example of how people kind of get around the system to pursue things that they want to do, or they need help doing things they want to do. GoFundMe, when you realize that the system is kind of failing you, GoFundMe is a great way to kind of get back and get what you need, but through people around you who are looking to help and looking to, help everyone live their lives as they want and those kinds of things. GoFundMe, I forget what they call this, but where you go and you travel to different places and you can stay up, not in a traditional hotel, but somebody's house.
Oh, Airbnb.
Yeah, that's another great way to, kind of.
And in Madison, that's now illegal because because the tyrant, who is the current mayor, who is now a candidate for governor, who I would love to run against that guy. I'm sure many other people will too. shut it down because he's in bed with the hotel
Yep.
builders and the hotel industry, and because he and this is a guy who is a self-proclaimed progressive, but who is against people making their own decisions about their own lives and their own property. That doesn't make sense to me. Another thing that besides that is, I haven't really mentioned it, is Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies.
Exactly.
This is a way that you can, exchange goods and services, do business, have commerce in a way that the government can't devalue. They can't steal from you. And it's yet to be seen how that plays out. I mean, at some point, as cryptocurrencies get more popular, I'm sure the government's going to try to do something. They're going to try and sanction it, control it, eradicate it. They'll probably find ways to undermine it. They'll try and hack it themselves as a way to discredit it, so that people run back to using, fiat currency.
Yeah.
That's most likely what will happen. But the fact that people are doing that, and there's hope, I think, in that the CEO or the owner of Overstock.com is somewhat, I don't know how libertarian he is, but at least somewhat, and he's accepting payment with Bitcoin on the Overstock.com site. So.
Yeah, it's mostly used for like underground stuff, like things that may or may not be legal.
But it's some.
Still,
I don't know about mostly. It's changed to a certain extent. I mean, it's being used. It's become, as people see the value of it and start adopting it. Now, the price of Bitcoin still has been somewhat volatile, and other cryptocurrencies, Ethereum and others, have been a little bit volatile, but that's the nature of any currency, to a certain extent, especially when it's not been adopted widely yet. As more people use cryptocurrencies, they'll stabilize because the amount of trading will be a smaller proportion of the amount that's not traded. So, it'll operate more like a regular currency market as that progresses. But we'll get to the point when that stabilizes, and then the government will have to do something, because certainly the Federal Reserve System and the world banking system, Western European banking system and American banking system altogether, are not going to put up with competition. I mean, basically they went to war in the Middle East and in Libya for the purpose of squashing dictators, as they would call them, nations, from using currency other than the dollars to trade. They wanted to use gold in exchange for the oil, et cetera. And that was enough of a reason for them to go to fight. What they'll do against Bitcoin, it's hard to say, but regardless, all we can do as individuals is to not only pursue liberty in the political realm by voting for libertarians and supporting the party, but also all these things that we've talked about that are ways to escape the system and use other things. So I encourage everybody who's listening, everybody who really at least wants to have options. You don't even necessarily have to be making a political statement by doing so, but if you prefer a cryptocurrency for whatever reason you have, then by all means indulge in it. If you prefer raw milk, you prefer smoking weed, you prefer driving your own car to take people around and getting paid for it, or using your house as an occasional hotel, whatever it might be, by all means do that. You're free. You are free. Those rights cannot be alienated from you. They cannot be taken away by a majority, by a government, by nobody. So I urge you to exercise those. Any final words, Ron?
Well, you forgot the one greatest thing that you can do.
What's that?
Oh, revolution.
Oh, well, I'm trying to avoid that. I'm not trying to avoid it, but that's what the founders did, right?
Yeah,
they had to take up arms because their grievances were not even really listened to by George III. But hopefully we don't get to that point.
Right.
I don't want to have to do that. I'm not suggesting anyone do that, but what could happen is if the government continues to be so corrupt and so inept and so coercive that if the dollar loses a ton of value all of a sudden, or our infrastructure really breaks down and people become hungry or lack for entertainment or clean water or whatever, they'll start to fight. And it's the whole Roman bread and circuses thing, right?
Yeah.
As long as the people have bread and circuses, they're quiet. But what could happen in our system is that bread and circuses break down, and next thing you know, we might be looking at a revolution.
Yeah.
My thanks to Ron DePouw for joining me tonight. My thanks to co-hosts Patrick and Miles, who are not here tonight, to engineer Samuel Anderson, to everyone who's helped the show, including Jeff Korch, who I forgot to mention as a show contributor earlier, Scout the Show Dog, to our neighbors who are celebrating Independence Day in the way that they choose to, with some slightly illegal fireworks. We'll be back next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, Free People Show at freepeopleshow.com. And see you then. Good night.